Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, to another episode of Seed Talk. We're excited today because as you guys know, we always love to bring interviews as we infuse that into our normal conversations. Obviously we got sports, we talk technology, and today we have a fantastic guest with us today from FightCamp, PJ Shirdan. We're excited to have you on and really looking forward to diving into everything that FightCamp's been doing, since the origins of 2014. So welcome to the show. How are you doing?
I'm doing great today, man. Thank you for having me. Thank you for asking as well. I spend most of my days asking how other people are and trying to motivate, encourage them. So it's nice to hear somebody kind of ask me, how am I doing? But I'm great, man. Thank you for asking.
I love that. It's kind of to that famous, I don't know if everybody's seen it on social media, where it's like, if you have a pet or something at home and they're like, who's a good boy or who's a good girl, like to your dog or cat, but then the caption flips back and it's like, no one ever asked how's a good boy, how's a good girl.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, it's always good. But no, we're happy to have you on and excited to see what FightCamp has been doing and what it's been able to do for a lot of people. Sterling, how you doing? I won't forget about you, brother. I'll bring you in. I won't forget
you're going to forget about me there. I'm good.
Never can.
It's kind of it was a kind of a weird cloudy day in LA. It's starting to break up a little bit. Sun's coming out, so I'm good, man. PJ, thank you so much for being here, and super excited to get this conversation going.
Yeah, as we get it rolling, I'll start it off. You guys can find me at TaylorMac29 pretty much at everything. You can find my brother at SteveMac. PJ, we want to give a shout out and address to all your socials at the same time.
Yeah, of course, man. You can find me at Train with PJ. I'm on all the socials as well.
Awesome. I want to kind of dive in. You've got the West Virginia jersey in the background there. I kind of want to start with your athletic history. So I believe you played football at West Virginia. Take us through that. Take us through how you were recruited to go there, and how that went for you playing in the Big East, I think, back then.
Yeah, back in the day, back in West Virginia's heyday, they were a Big East top school. So my story is a little different, I guess. Growing up outside of Philadelphia, I played football, track. I was an okay athlete. I wasn't a great athlete. I'll be first to admit that. But I worked hard, and I was able to see my inadequacies and then go out and reach to see who could help me and, inquire from the right mentors and right coaches to make the improvements I needed. I only ended up actually playing 1 year of varsity football in high school. Went to Monsignor Bonner in Drexel Hill, Pennsylvania. Yeah. Had a pretty phenomenal junior year, I guess. And, I had a good coach who had some connections, but the recruiting process was, pretty simple. I had a highlight tape back in the day when they could print out DVDs, and we sent that out to a lot of universities and did the combine tour and did all of those camps and things to kind of get my name out there. And it started to work, and I started to accumulate a pretty good amount of colleges that had interest in me, from Penn State to UConn to Virginia, Navy, Army, and a couple other ones. But at the end of my junior year, which I did pretty well for myself, went from a no-name to like a 3-star recruit. And then I tore my ACL, tore my right ACL going into my senior year at a camp where I was trying to get more scholarships. Long story short, I had to forego that whole entire senior season through the surgery and the recovery afterwards. But I had a couple options left that were still willing to take a risk on me and give me a full ride to college. It was University of Akron, Temple University, and then West Virginia University. And I had a mentor at the time, Anthony Beck, who actually went to my high school and, played at West Virginia and then went on to play in the league. He gave me some advice to just, take the big jump and to go with the bigger school. At the time, they were, a top 5 team ranked nationally. They were the number 1 party school according to Playboy. And as a young kid, I just went,
seen that.
let's go to Morgantown. So ended up going and picking the university out there in Morgantown. And my life changed in a lot of different ways there. I'll get into that in a minute. But came on a full scholarship as a safety. And it was great. I'm glad I went there. I would have definitely picked no other university than that. but they took a risk on me, and that risk, I don't know if I do the math or they did the math, but I ended up actually going through that same reconstructive surgery 2 more times in West Virginia. So I actually never got to play on the field in a full game. Went through all of summer camp, went through all of spring camp, and ended up basically tearing my ACL in the last practice of each of those subsequent seasons. So I redshirted, tore it again, and then had a really crazy season going into my junior year where I stopped playing football. I was still on scholarship, but I wasn't on the team. They honored my scholarship there, but I went through a really dark period of life and got into a car accident where a friend passed away. Really sunk deep into post-traumatic stress disorder for some years, major anxiety, depression. And then I really truly believe that God opened the door for boxing. And I ended up joining the boxing team at the university. And I would like to say the rest is history, but it was an opportunity to kind of dive into a new thing that I didn't realize at the time, but boxing would be something that I would be better at than in football. And it ended up becoming a hobby, a passion, which then translated into a career. And I'm here today now, and if I had not have gone through that hard season in West Virginia, maybe I might not be here talking to you guys right now. So a little bit of the background, just to kind of where I got at and where I am today.
Yeah, I love the journey. And for one, I can already tell, we've talked shortly, a little pre-show, but one, I can see you're humble when you say that you weren't a great athlete, but still went to a top 5 team, top 10 team in West Virginia. This is the time frame, ladies and gentlemen. West Virginia was tearing it up. I'm talking Steve Slayton, Pat White out here just running, tearing. They could go east and west and still score on you north and south, and it didn't matter what you threw at them. It would be rocking in Millen-Pusker Stadium, and they would just go nationwide and just do what they needed to do. So you are a top athlete, take the stars out of it. Doesn't matter if you're 3 or 4 or 5. So I love that your humble nature. And it is wild to see when you retrospectively, when you look back and you're like, where things transacted and how you end up where you are. But it also comes to the mental fortitude that you had to go through in that journey. So what was it like? Because you transitioned into boxing, you found that second love. But what was it like for you to be, you saw the door closing in one respect, and then something where you thought it was just going to be an outlet then turns into more of a passion. So what really ignited that when you started enjoying the boxing scene?
Honestly, man, it was just a leap of faith. After the car accident that happened in 2009, which I'll spare you the details of it, but I was broken. I was at my lowest point of my life, lower than all the ACL surgeries and the process and all that. Worse than when I lost my father at a young age. I was an absolute mess and on the verge of not living anymore. And I had really lost hope. I stopped training. Even though I had access to all the weight room facilities, I had honestly given up hope in life. And it was one of those things that, I see it as, coincidence. I think it was God's intervention and his divine timing to just open the door where I saw a flyer that said boxing tryouts. And then my brain went, I've never boxed before, but I've always appreciated the sport. I used to love watching Mike Tyson back in the day. I used to love watching Joe Kawasaki and Prince Nassim Hamed and even Floyd Mayweather. And these guys and what they did, it was a one-on-one sport, but it gave me an appreciation for the team aspect and the dynamic of having a good coach in your corner and someone to be there for you. So I just showed up one day, and I was still struggling through depression. It was a season I remember as a young 20-year-old, I didn't know who I was. I didn't have an identity. And when I went there that first day, I loved it. I loved the hard cardio. I loved the plyometrics. I loved the motions of throwing punches and being able to miss punches and seeing how this team sort of came together, even though, again, individually, everyone has to go fight their own battle. So I started to just love it. And then I kept going and I kept showing up. And then a few months later, just through some training, my coach said, do you want to fight now? I think you're ready. I was like, I don't know. Am I ready? Okay. And then I'd never forget. Well, I did forget because my first amateur fight was at University of Maryland, and it was against some guy that went to Eastern Carolina, who was a team that we played football. So I was like, I recognize these colors. I see this purple and this gold. Okay. And we get in there, and I mean, I just remember taking out all my anger and frustration from the surgeries, from me losing my dad as a young kid to that car accident. I went ham. I tried to kill this person. And he got knocked down once or twice. And then, into the second round, they called the fight. I didn't know what happened when the referee goes like this. I thought he was like, come get him. It was an interesting learning lesson for me, but I started to win fights. I started to enjoy the process. And how do I say it, man? I ended up finding something that I was better at than I had been doing my whole life. Like, I dedicated my life as a teenager to go to college for free. I didn't want to get to the league necessarily. I wanted to just play football for free and not have that burden be on my mother. But I thought I was okay at it. And then I ended up boxing, and now I'm like, oh wait, I'm winning fights. I'm knocking people out. I'm a little better than some of these guys that have been doing this for some years. So it was like a little bit of a natural thing I could just do. And then also bringing in the athletic nature from football and my desire to work hard, it just kind of clicked. And although it was a individual sport, when you get into that ring, you don't play. You play football, you play basketball, you play soccer, but you don't play boxing, you fight. But it also is not just you. And I was surrounded by a lot of great people, coaches and mentors and people that were there for me in my corner. And that sort of spurred me on to want to coach and want to inspire that next generation. And that's part of the reason why I'm here in Southern California today. It was through that trajectory of being on that boxing team that led me to see you can help inspire and uplift a generation. So use your skills, gain the certifications and the knowledge and degrees, and then take that to the next generation. It's kind of what I did. And then I took a leap of faith, got over to California, and now I've been with, a couple different companies, and FightCamp was one that I partnered with over the years.
Sterling, I'll pass to you real quick. I know you can give the breakdown of FightCamp because we got to talk about what's behind you in the background, but the question is burning in the back of my mind real quick.
Well, ask the question. Go ahead.
What's it like when you knock somebody down? I'm soft. I don't fight. I feel like I got quick hands, but I don't fight. So what's it like when you get that bing bong 1-2 biscuit combo, and then next thing you know, you got to turn around like Muhammad Ali type picture, from the bottom of the canvas, looking up at you in all your glory. What's that feeling?
There's nothing quite like it. I would say, I've knocked a few opponents down. I've even hit some friends in sparring and taken them out. A lot of times it's a surprise moment. You're like, oh, I hit somebody. I didn't think I hit you that hard, and you went down. There's one time you can do that, and you kind of feel bad for a second, like, oh, I didn't mean to do that. There are other times where you're in a actual match and you land a punch with somebody, whether it's to the body or up to the face, and as soon as you make contact and you put something into that, you just feel it, like there's a rush of dopamine. You're like, they're going down. I see it. They're going down. It's I could, I've had some quarterback friends of mine, like when you get that perfect deep ball and you landed it right in the pocket, like you start celebrating right away. The hands go up, you're victorious, and there's that huge rush of adrenaline. It can be like that. Okay. Now there have been times where I've hit somebody and I didn't think that they were going to go down, and they did. So you wore them out, basically. I mean, sometimes you're surprised with you landing the right shot at the right time, but it's a cool feeling. I'll say I've done it before, but
So it's basically like when you find the sweet spot. You're playing golf and you had that one connect. You're playing baseball. You feel like you feel it, and there's no way to really describe it. And that's the only so baseball, like a hitting, like you said, quarterback, a throwing, a pitch as a pitcher. Hockey, maybe you hit that top right corner, but it's the minute you connect and that it was perfect. It just off the finger, off the ball, off the bat, it was perfect. Okay, I like that. Okay,
great question.
It was in the back of my mind. It was in the back of my mind, so I was like, I can't pass up this opportunity to ask that.
That was a great question. Yeah, I do want to talk FightCamp. It's obviously the bag is behind me here. I've been able to use it now for a couple weeks. truly, I've loved it. I like in the first 5 days, I think I did 7 workouts, which might be a little too much for someone who hadn't been throwing a ton of punches, but it's addicting. And I kind of want to start there because you talk about your trajectory, how now you've got your coach PJ. And I want to talk about that individual to team aspect, because I think a lot of people from a workout perspective, like I got my girlfriend to try this out a couple times, and she's a big Pilates person and needs someone to kind of motivate her. And with this, there's obviously motivation. You do. Honestly, I think I've only really taken a lot of your classes on the app so far, but there's this individual aspect to it, but also to your point, kind of this team portion of what FightCamp is not only built, but what you're trying to go after as kind of an individual, right? And someone who works at home. So can you kind of talk us through that and what FightCamp has been able to build out here in terms of that individual to team perspective in terms of working out?
Yeah, definitely. Well, I've been with FightCamp since their inception, essentially, when they were back in the day, they were HIXO. And I partnered with them, and it's been a great ride, I'll say. They definitely, did a tremendous job of reaching people and bringing a real problem, a solution during the pandemic when COVID happened. But it is something that you do by yourself, but you're doing it with people around the world. There's a leaderboard. So FightCamp is an at-home interactive boxing, kickboxing fitness system. They do strength conditioning, core recovery, stretch, boxing, kickboxing. I do it all except kickboxing. They don't let me teach that. But it's one of those things where you get a bag like you already have. You have gloves and quick wraps and trackers where they're going to actually track your technology, or the technology is going to track your punches and give you real-time data. You're able to kind of compete against yourself, but you're also able to compete against people all around the world when we get that data at the end of the workout. You can kind of see where you measure up. So it is something that you are doing on your own. And I always like to tell people, the greatest battle is ever going to be you versus you, the version of you today versus the version of you the day before, or a month before, a year before. But then you can also of course, compete with people everywhere else. So there is a dynamic there where you are part of a team. I am not the only coach on the team. Yeah. I might be the tallest and the heaviest, and the one with the longest hair. However, I am one of many on the app. So there's a lot of great coaches there. So we try to be a team as well, even though we all kind of film individually and do it. But it takes a village to raise a child. It takes a team to accomplish greatness. And I don't think FightCamp is any different than that.
Yeah. Go ahead, Taylor.
No, you're I got you.
Yeah, and I was going to say it's done such a great job. To your point, the interactiveness of it, right? Being able to see some of the output, how many punches you're doing. You can also even go against, I kind of like it, the AI kind of robot as well. Can you talk about the output aspect of what FightCamp is, what it's measuring in terms of kind of your punches, your I guess the strength that you have there? And a lot of times for me too, I'm trying as I'm going through each round, right? A lot of the workouts are built into rounds, right? Just like you would if you were boxing or do kickboxing or whatever. I'm trying to make my output go higher every single time. Can you kind of walk us through what that technology is and what that looks like?
Yeah. So great question again as well. When you do boxing or kickboxing workouts, you're going to have your data tracked in real time. Now, for the most part, actually, yeah, I'd say every round is going to be, you're going to have the same format. FightCamp has 4-rounders, 6-rounders, 8-rounders, and 10-rounders. And you're always going to have a little intro, a 2-minute warm-up or a dynamic activation. You're going to go through your rounds, which are 3 minutes in length, and then you get 1 minute of rest, just like in a professional fight. Now, your data is going to be tracked that whole entire time, so you'll get real-time feedback and seeing where you're at. And then at the end of the round, you'll kind of get an output score as well. Output, at least from what I have seen over the years, is a cumulative score based on how many punches you throw, how hard you throw, and how fast they are. So there's a lot of ways to get through it and to get to it, but the biggest thing is to punch hard, punch often, and you're going to see that output grow over time. A lot of people I've seen have seen their output double, triple from the time they first start FightCamp to where they're at today. And it's a great measurement. That's kind of how you stack up on the leaderboard. But I always like to say good form helps, but if you're just wailing away on the bag and you're giving everything you got, sweating, breathing hard, you're going to see that number climb.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Now, I love that you said that, because I know that, like, you have a lot of novices that are going to try and jump in, and might have been, nervous to go to official gym, but they're like, well, if I can start here and then, make my way, might have the technique, but I got the passion and I got the energy at least to let out. So to really describe it for everybody, if you're driving or you're listening and you're not watching or checking the clip. So my Sterling has, it is I don't know the weight, but it's a heavy bag. It's a heavy bag that's a stationary bag, and then your unboxing comes with a set of gloves, sensors, and what PJ was just highlighting about the sensors and tracking your movements. So I think it's really cool about how you guys infuse the technology, especially at the height of, like you said, during the COVID period, and people trying to figure out, what way am I going to go to be able to stay in shape? Because just walking around the neighborhood or going down to the park to do those type of workouts, it gets old. But then also to the team aspect, being able to either connect or see what your stats look like in comparison to others or yourself, if you're just battling it yourself, it goes further in stimulating and wanting you to hit those endorphins to come back. Mm-hmm. So with the technology, and how you guys designed the bag, there's different bags that you see when it comes to boxing, where hey, we're going to send you a kit to hang it up in your house, or find a spot where you can then lift and, do the heavy bag there. I've seen all the reviews that I've seen from people on the heavy bag is that it's one of the most elite ones in the market. The whole setup is ultimately top tier. So what went into the thought process? Because we came off fresh of Wii Boxing. Wii Boxing is, you got the remotes, you got the tracker there. The accuracy portion wasn't there or up to speed to what you needed to be able to do what you're doing now. So you're taking essentially what you're seeing in classes from, I won't plug other, classes that people go to, but very popular ones where you put a heart monitor on and you're running and you're tracking, and you're taking that and synthesizing it for the home. So how did that come about as a founding coach of you guys figuring out, like, this is going to be the best way, putting the sensors in the gloves, sensors in your, the socks or ankles, and then being able to then tune that to the leaderboard?
I'll be honest with you, man. As a founding coach and someone that's been here from the beginning, I did not have the input or the say with what comes with the bag and how they wanted to do it. Mm-hmm. I signed up. Essentially, they recruited me and asked me to come teach some classes. Mm-hmm. And this was way back, 2017, 18. Mm-hmm. A couple of the co-founders reached out to some people and said, hey, we're doing this. We wanted to see what it'd be like if you were to, do this part-time. Mm-hmm. So I showed up at a studio in Santa Monica and taught a class and had some friends come and had some, different people. They had the technology already there, but it was they were still figuring things out. And I had kind of been with them from the beginning of that. But I remember at first it was just going to be the trackers. And then they're like, well, let's do a whole system in the bag. Right. They ended up designing the bag, ended up designing the platform. And it kind of I guess it was a twofold thing. You'd have to ask them. I'm not 100% in a lot of those meetings and those board meetings, but I think they saw the need for workouts at home. And I think that there was a big missing gap. Obviously, everyone had kind of known about Peloton at the time. Riding a bike was something that was, everybody could do it, but everybody didn't have fun doing it. I think hitting the bag was something that just came about as, here's a need and this is a little more fun. Let's go for it. So they jumped into that market and ended up doing really well for themselves in the peak of COVID. But it was also something that, to your point, people found, I like hitting this bag. I like working out at home on my own time, and I don't need to go to the gym. Now, there are some people that still go to a gym and still use FightCamp because they have found not only success with sticking to this program, but they have found community. So there's a big Facebook group that people all kind of chime in on as well. So there's other parts of FightCamp that are not just you hitting the bag and having a good old time. That's part of it, but that's not everything there. So the technology is great. And then once they saw, like, okay, well, we can do boxing, I think there was some innovation to go, well, kickboxing, boom, let's do that. And then, well, we have these trackers for the hands, but I'm throwing kicks and that's not giving any data. So they went and did a variation now where they just started to use kick tracking. So that's one of the big things. I think that's a selling point for Fight Camp. Boxing, you can box anywhere, but how often are you going to be able to get your kicks tracked as well? So it's a really cool system, and I've been really proud to have stamped my name alongside of it.
So how was it as an amateur, and then you come in, and as you're in the beta or the very early portion, like you said, and you have the technique down, in your sense and your training, be like, I shouldn't get tired around, I can go for 3, 4, 5 without really start huffing and puffing and bending over, keeling over. So what was it interesting to see in you being able to give that feedback of the punch reactivity or the punch tracking? And then also, was it interesting for you to be like, I'm throwing 200 or 50 punches, and normally in my mind, it feels like it's a lot more, but those 50 punches, I'm actually a lot more tired than I had assumed. So the data that I'm seeing is changing my perception of what I thought I was initially doing in training. So did you get that early on?
Yeah, that's an interesting thought, because each of the coaches, when they perform, when they teach a class, they program it themselves. So we program our own workouts ourselves, and then we assign a punch goal for each round. So that's one of the cool parts about Fight Camp as well, that when you go into a round, you're going to have a punch goal. It could be anywhere from 100 punches to 400, and that's the number that we're giving you, that we want you to reach. And if you have the screen up, what you'll do is you'll see your punches count is going to go down. It's going to basically be counting every punches. And then when you get to that number, there's a little ding, gives you a little bit of cool feedback to let you know that you hit that goal, but then it keeps counting. It still keeps going around. And what I have found is that people tend to go above those goals. Somebody just wants to just get those numbers and be competitive with themselves, which I'm all for. I'm not going to stop them. But I'm not wearing trackers when I'm teaching those classes. It is substantially harder to teach a class and talk through the class as you're doing it. When I take Fight Camp workouts, like on my spare time, or I just, I'm doing what somebody else is doing, I have the time of my life. I don't got to talk to nobody. I can hit those punch goals like it's nothing. It's all day. It's when I hop on the stage and then I got to talk and give anecdotes and give tips and then give dad jokes and all these other aspects to the way I teach and train, that it can be a little challenging. So, the punch goals are all made by the coaches, but we kind of made a little system, so at least there's some framework for what it is. You're going to punch more than you would in a kickboxing class per se, because kicks throw a little more energy in them. But yeah, every workout's a little different. And if you ever want a real challenge, you take a 10-round burnout workout, a 10-round intermediate burnout workout, which might be the hardest length, the highest length we have. The hardest level, right? We got some beginner, open, and then advanced. And then as far as the workout types go, we have some pure punching, some combo build-up, switch stance, some things that might throw some plyos in there. But then you hit a burnout workout, you're going to be sprinting and going all out for all 45 minutes, man.
That sounds tough. I had the same question, actually, that Taylor just had, perception to reality. I'm going to kind of take it a little bit further, because I think about this with, say you just started with Fight Camp, right? And obviously you're coming from a boxing background. How hard would it be for someone to take this and be like, oh, I want to get live with somebody? What would that process kind of be for somebody that would want to take this interactive boxing, that they're able to kind of see their output, they're able to see their stats, they do it for 6 months? How hard would it be for someone to then kind of maybe go step into a boxing class or ring and try that out?
Well, I would personally say it's hard to adjust, because every athlete's different. Every person's going to have a different set of skills. They're going to have different abilities to, have a facility. There's good coaches in a lot of different cities. There's a lot of cities that don't have any good coaches or any good gyms, where you might have to travel a little far. So everyone's going to be different. But generally speaking, if you start with Fight Camp, you go through the prospect program, you understand the fundamentals of how to box and get into your stance. You go through the contender program, which is another program and path that Fight Camp has designed. We curated these workouts to teach you all the basic punches and all the defensive movements that you kind of need. That's going to give you a base level. Now, can you immediately go out there and fight in the streets? I mean, I'm not going to advise it, but at least I know you'll be able to throw a couple punches and not get tired. which is more than most street fights actually are. But to then take it to a level where you're going to go into an actual boxing gym and maybe spar, maybe eventually get to an amateur fight or want to go pro, anything's possible if you are committed to doing it. What Fight Camp really does is it's going to give you a great workout at home and give you that base to understand the skills. If someone came to me and said, I want to fight or I want to go spar and get in the ring, I'm going to absolutely advise them to work with a person and have eyes on, hands on, to get feedback, to see where you're at, to adjust whether or not you can actually do it. Because I can't see what people are doing at home. You know, I've seen people that have recorded videos of their form and sent them to me where they can ask for some critiques or get some kind of feedback there. But real time, I can't see what you're doing. So I have no idea whether you're throwing your jab right here in this position with your chin tucked and protecting yourself, or you're just like throwing it like this and putting yourself at danger. So I would always recommend you seeking out professional help. But also do due diligence with that too, because not all coaches are created equal. Okay, just because someone has coach at the end of the name, you know, you can't tell whether they went to university or whether that they have a, you know, NASM certification as a certified personal trainer, or they just got to some street fights and they say, you know what, I know what I'm doing. All right.
Right. Yeah, I was going to say that the first thing that popped in my mind is if you were saying the transition, just kind of just jump in the ring, it's going to end up being like a next Friday. You just got knocked the hell out. That's another word for that one, but that's kind of what I was seeing. Because like you said, you don't know what the form looks like. And it's different when something's coming back at you versus being stationary. So it is the confidence. So people, as you're using your Fight Camp and you are getting your vibrato. Well, did I use the right word on that one? Did I get that right? Did I use it right?
Yeah,
I like it.
Don't put too much some dip on your chip is what I'm saying. Don't put too much dip on your chip because you might run into you don't want to be outside. Next thing you know, I'm at the grocery store, you're at the market or something. You're like, you know, someone look at me the wrong way. I've been on Fight Camp. Fight Camp is great. But pump your brakes. No, I think that's a great answer though, because like you said to the coaches, it's not. It depends on who the coaches are, but then also if you do want to take a step further, go and get that personal training. Because I've done, I went to like a class because I was trying to get right for wedding. You know, when you get these pictures, you got beach season coming up. I was like, these are lifelong memories. I gotta get this chin line to that hard V. Didn't happen the way I wanted to, but it's all right. But I did notice, you know, on the bag one, like the workout, it's just so intense. But also making the transition, it is different from just, you know, stationary to then pulling in and trying to, you know, make that transition into boxing. But with that, so as you're in front of the class and you said something earlier about, you know, through your journey, and then also, you know, you also just made the quip about, you know, dad jokes. And so you said normally you have to give the inspiration, or you're asking how people are. What is it like when, you know, because I've seen all these, you know, the videos on socials of, and everybody, when you're doing these workout classes and trying to inspire folks while you're working out, you're trying not to be dog tired, but you're trying to be inspirational because you don't know who's on the other end that might need something for that day. So you're trying to tap in, and like you said, you know, let the Lord work through you and give a good workout. What's your process for that? You know, as you're sculpting and molding your classes for all your videos. Sorry, for your videos and classes.
Good question. I'd say everyone has a different approach to it. I try my best, and I don't do this perfectly at all, but I try my best to give a different experience every single time we hit the bag. Now, it doesn't matter if someone has come to me for the 400th time or the first time. I want to make sure that they have a memorable experience training. Because I say these things like anybody can give you a good workout. You know, my grandmom could tell me to do 100 burpees right now, and I'm going to be sweating my face off dying. But realistically, you want to train people to have them come back, to leave them with a memory, have them come back to something where there's value, right? Whether that's learning a skill set, whether that is picking up something a little differently, whether that's laughing a little bit, whether that's being motivated by a story. So I try my best to make my workouts different every single time. Now, they could be 4 rounders nonstop, but every one of them is going to be a different theme. It's going to have different combinations, different setups, different things that you see from the beginning to the end, different dad jokes. Now, I will say I have the same exact intro and the same exact outro. I'm always saying my workouts. I just, ever since I, moved to California, oh, even before that, back in like 2013, when I was coaching people, I would always just say, "Oh yeah," and it just kind of became something that was like me. It's like it's my signature on. And then, as a tribute to my grandfather who passed away some years ago. We would always talk in the text and the conversation. He'd always leave me with his peace and love. And he would always say that to me. And that was one of those things that whenever I get done a workout, I want to always encourage people to go about your day with peace and love. So that's how I kind of always finish. And that's kind of what I have on my hand as well. But my workouts, I will give different themes. I have different combos. I like to switch it up because another thing that I tell people is that your workouts should be challenging to create change, and that's a part of it, but they should not be simply endured through. You should enjoy them. If you're not having some fun, why are you doing it? So I try to input my own self into these workouts. And then, of course, something that I just started to do, I think during the pandemic, was to just input a dad joke into a workout where you might be sweating and feeling like you want to hate your life. And then all of a sudden you hear some cringy, weird joke about a cow or about, what's happening in your life. And then you're like, oh, wait, what? And so I don't know. I threw that in there years ago. And it, at first people were like, I like this. And I was like, what? You really like this? Like, yeah, where's the dad joke in this workout? So I just had to keep doing it. And now it's just kind of become my thing that even on my desk right now, I got a bunch of dad jokes over here written. So I try to prepare in advance and make sure that when I show up on stage, I do it right. And I do it right every time.
I want to flip the mindset because I don't know if you're following the NBA, like Jason Tatum just tears his Achilles, right? And it's tough. He's having the best game I think I'd ever seen him play. It's about to be a matchup between him and Brunson kind of coming down the stretch, and it ends up tearing the Achilles.
Yeah.
I think about this from like, you're sitting at your home, you're in this, obviously this is interactive boxing at your house. You're at home. You just talked about it. You're dead tired. Taylor asked a great question there. Like your ability to kind of like turn it on right for these workouts and give people people like myself, something to kind of like to hold on to and to kind of get through. I'm going to kind of flip that. Like, can you talk to those that are going to be using FightCamp that are in that position of like, man, I've been going from 7 to 5 on Zoom calls all day. And how do you kind of coach people or teach people to kind of tune their mind to like, all right, I got to get up. I got to get this workout in. I'm going to get through it. And it's going to be what it is. Like, can you give some thoughts or words there?
Yeah. Well, thankfully I work in a coaching business where I work with a lot of people around the country. And that's a common problem that I hear. It's an almost everyday problem that millions of Americans are dealing with, right? People all over the world, actually. And I like to approach it like this. No one's going to do it for you. If you want to get better, you have to put in the hard work and effort. Now, as adults, we realize we don't have time. We have to make time. So in order to do that, there's going to be a sacrifice that needs to occur, whether that is your sleep, your entertainment, whether that is hanging out with friends, whether that's scrolling on social media. If you want to grow, if you want to get better, you have to do the work. Your kids ain't going to do it for you. Your spouse isn't going to do it. Your coworkers can't do it. Your boss won't do it. Your neighbors aren't going to do it. So if you want to make that change, you have to step up and do it. Now, is it going to be easy? No. And that's the point. Because if it's not going to challenge you, it's not going to change you. So if it were easy, everybody would be doing it. Everybody would have the jawline like they want or a six-pack. Everybody would be in their best shape ever. Everyone would be always happy. But that's not how the world is. So I encourage people, especially with busy lives, especially with hard work days, to get it done and to get it done early if you can. It's really hard to go through a hard day of work and then to have that mindset. I want to get better, but I literally have 30 minutes of myself right now and I'm about to crash. Well, if you had to sacrifice that time earlier in the morning, maybe you would have been able to get through that day a little better. And then when you finish those last Zoom calls, you can kind of be like, oh, shoot, now I can scroll guilt-free because I did that work in early. Not everybody can, and not everybody is an early morning person. So if you can, do it. If not, try to get it done at night. But you have to plan. That's the big thing. You're not going to just randomly, coincidentally one day just go, oh, I'm going to be working out in a really, 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 really restrictive way and have habits filled. No, you have to make the habits happen. So plan the time, schedule it out, get accountability around that as well, is what I would also say. It's one thing for you to say, I want to get in shape or I want to start boxing and to do it. But it's another thing when you bring another person in on your life to let you go, hey, did you do that workout you said you were going to do? Oh, shoot. Okay. Now you might be convicted about it. And now you might be more apt to get it in. So invite people into your journey, set aside that time and realize that if you want to make progress, if you want to hit a goal, it's going to require some sacrifice.
That's a great answer.
Now, Coach PJ just shut the show down. We got nothing left to say anymore. That's the whole episode right there. We can't say anything else after that. If that didn't inspire you in that quick minute, I think that's perfect. The way to get that's how you. I even felt that. I was like, man, I actually got a little bit of gym in today, and I'm ready to go back for two a day real quick. I was like, I like that. I was, oh man. So to that, and you interact with a lot of people around the country. Did you see yourself? Obviously, when you play football, it's not the accolades or the recognition that you do it for. It's because it's the love of the game, but it comes with the territory. And now you're in this position and you interact with so many people on a daily basis, so many people unbeknownst to you as well. Do you see a different impact, whether it be social media or you traveling, say you're back in Philly and then someone just, hey, I happened, like, I was just on your class the other day. Can I buy you a coffee or something? Like, has that been something that you've run into?
I have a few times in a few places where people have recognized me. I used to get recognized a lot from being on the Fight Tips YouTube channel. My boy Shane Faison. So a lot of people in LA would recognize me here and there. But I try to just be me. I usually am the same goofy self all the time. Like I can be serious with moments, but I'm me, whether I'm on stage or whether I'm going to go get a burger and a beer with my wife and kids. And people have walked up to me and said, what's up? I've had people that take FightCamp classes meet me for the first time. And they're like, you're like the celebrity to me. I'm like, I'm just a regular guy. I'm just the dad. Do you not see the mustache? Like, I'm just super normal and chill. So, I mean, I try my best to just be inviting and encourage people and love them. Like, if I see you out in the streets, like you don't know whether or not you can approach me, just say what's up. Like, the easiest thing you can just say is just go Birds. Like anytime I can hear someone talk about the Philadelphia sports or Eagles, I'm in. So I have seen people, look at me and kind of like, I want to take a picture with you, but I don't know if this is weird. I'm like, come on, man. I'm not no influencer. I'm a regular dad. I'm a guy.
Yeah, I want to get you out of here on this one because you said something about stories from Philadelphia, going from Philadelphia to West Virginia. Yeah. Do you have a story for us about, now we're from the South, so like we very much understand what it is like for people that have never been to West Virginia to go to West Virginia. So do you have a story for us for you going from Philadelphia to West Virginia?
Do I have a story? I have lots of stories. Like, do I want should I make this story PG? Should
hey, you can do anything you want to with that.
Man, listen, this is going to live on the internet forever. I got to be smart and be okay. Story, West Virginia story, man.
Well, if you're not able to do a PG one,
I got one. I actually can I tell why?
I want to hear yours first. That'll help me give my story.
We played you guys. I've actually said this on the podcast before. We played you guys in 2009. I think it was 9. We had I played Indiana baseball. And we had 3 black guys on the team. And this is the team with like Jed Jorko or Jorko, whatever you would say his name, played for the Cardinals for a little bit, bounced around a little bit. And we lose. You guys killed us in like one of the Big East, Big Ten like challenge or whatever. So we're going through the line, and the coach does it, and we all started. So I started, my roommate started, who was also black, and then the pitcher was the closer. He didn't pitch that day because, again, we were getting blown out. So we walked through the line, and the coach doesn't shake our hands. And the assistant coaches never shake the hands, right? Like, it's always the head coach. And, yeah, he just like he literally like peeled off as he got to me and my roommate, and I was like, West Virginia.
Go Mountaineers! Go Mountaineers!
Yeah,
That's interesting.
yeah,
Yeah,
that's a tough one.
I had a good time at West Virginia. I'm not going to lie to y'all,
Yeah,
man.
WVU is why when we played y'all and we were losing. I'm a sophomore at this point, and y'all started playing Waka Flocka. It's a party in here, and I wasn't playing that much. I was just on kick return. I was kick returner and kickoff team, so I was just like, all right, this is cool. And then another corner tapped me, was like, no, they're playing it because they're beating our behinds. So I was like, oh, I get it, because I think we were down 20 at this point. So they were just playing that, like, because they kind of had it. I was like, all right, I see how y'all get down in here, but yeah, y'all, it was one of the most hostile crowds, just like because it's bleeding blue. I don't know what it would be like to come in as a Pitt Panther for that rivalry, because to pull into Morgantown. And you drive through West Virginia, you get through the kind of rolling hills, whatever, get pulling in, because we flew into Pitt and drove down Pittsburgh. It is nothing but WVU, tram rolling around. Campus is a campus, and the fans live and breathe Mountaineer football in Morgantown. So it's a great environment.
It is, man. All right, I got one. One. I've never seen the level of fandom. And again, like I'm a Philadelphia Eagles fan. Like I was born and bred into that, and seeing videos of them throwing, snowballs at Santa Claus. The West Virginia fans are up there with the top in the whole entire world, man. Because I didn't realize it, but there's no professional sports teams in that state, right? So a lot of people are Steelers fans, but everybody in that whole state loves West Virginia. It doesn't matter where you're at. Even people that live near where Marshall is, they love the Mountaineers. And I had not seen that level of love and appreciation, and people out in the snow, like with shirts off, painted, and that kind of thing. I'll never forget, like rolling down High Street one day. I had heard about this. I didn't know that they would light couches on fire as a way to celebrate, as a way to party. And then I go down the street and I'm just seeing couches on fire, and I thought, like, should somebody call the police? Is like, do we help? They're like, oh no, we're celebrating. I'm like, that's
celebration.
Okay.
Yeah.
Cool. So it didn't matter whether it was West Virginia basketball or football or baseball. They were all celebrated well, but definitely the football team, I think, was the number one thing in that state, and then the basketball team. And I had some good friends that went on to play great careers and go to the Final Four, even actually. Deshaun Butler, my boy Wellington, Joe Mazzulla. They were
Joe
all
Mazzulla. I was going to say Mazzulla.
Yeah. Joe was the man back in college, man. And actually, I will say, I guess in my freshman year of college, there Steve Slayton was there. Pat White was the quarterback. They had two guys in the top 5 in the Heisman. One of the highest recruited running backs came. Noel Devine was there. And then at the time, Pat McAfee was our kicker, man. And that guy, he was just who he is today, man. Was hilarious, was a team player, was always on point and funny. But I've never seen a punter kicker be so he was always a popular guy, man, at the center of attention. But he just knew how to carry himself, and to see him kind of doing what he's doing now in the sports world and the media world is an absolute, it's incredible. And I'm so proud of him. So I've had some stories, man. I'll keep them all PG.
Yeah, I do. So this one, it's a little bit different. I know because I know we're coming up on time, and I know you got to run. But when I have a boxer in, I have to ask this question, just because we've seen the state of boxing. Everybody's saying boxing isn't the same boxing that you have in the past. You have the Tyson poster up behind you. Tyson is also one of y'all's backers as well for FightCamp. And so, what do you think when you see? Is it that DAZN or is it just DAZN? But like you've seen, obviously, Jake Paul in the marketing that he's been able to do, and this isn't not knocking anybody, but in what he's been able to accomplish and being able to sell out Cowboy Stadium and the eyes on boxing, but to the level of boxing from what I would say we've all come up with, our older generations came up with, the greats, Muhammad Ali, Joe Frazier, Mike Tyson, the true heavyweights. You transition into is he feather with Mayweather, but regardless, Mayweather, Pacquiao, and then now you have Canelo. It doesn't seem like it has the same weight or carries the same gravity that you had in the past, from my personal opinion. But what do you think of the current state of boxing? Is it boxing's not as talented? Are people not interested in the gladiator sport as they used to be? Where do you see the state of boxing right now?
Great question. I personally love boxing. It's been one of those things that I think was it saved me to a degree. Boxing was something, again, I said it was a hobby, it became a passion, became a purpose, became something that became a career of mine. And my wife doesn't like it, but I watch almost every single fight. It doesn't matter where it's at in the world. I'll watch it, and I'll even score these fights myself. Boxing right now is not what it used to be. Before, back in the day, we used to have the best fight the best all the time. It didn't matter who had how many wins or how many losses. They just wanted to fight. If you're the best, you're the top, fight me. Today, it seems as though, and again, my opinion, it seems as though fighters like Floyd Mayweather that went undefeated sort of gave a lot of people a license to, this is how it should be done. I need to protect my and at every cost. So a lot of people will duck and skip over some of the best opponents because that might be an opportunity for them to lose. I think today a lot of fighters look to get paid. And again, you're a prize fighter. It makes sense. However, it seems that the integrity that comes with boxing nowadays is more focused on trying to make as much money as you can, trying to bring in the larger crowds, not necessarily fighting the best opponents, which is why, it takes a long time for us to see fights like Ryan Garcia, Gervonta Davis. We're now finally going to get to see a Terrence Crawford fight Canelo Alvarez, which I'm super excited about that. But that's one of the instances, a few and far between, where one of the best is fighting one of the best. There are some great fighters out there today, and I can't knock them. Some amazing coaches, some amazing teams and talent. But it seems to me today that it is way more focused on the entertainment aspect of it than it is the actual sport where you're going to get the best fighters. Now, the Zone put on a card, a couple weeks ago in New York that on paper, absolutely stunning. Teofimo Lopez, Devin Haney, Ryan Garcia.
And it was outside.
Yeah, it was in the middle of Madison Square or Times Square. I've never seen anything like that in my life. So from a visual perspective, it was great, but they didn't sell any tickets there for the most part, and those fights were not really as quality as we were going to see them be. And on paper, look great. But all that in a nutshell to say, my opinion of boxing is that it is continually changing. And like you said, with Jake Paul, more eyes are on the sport than ever. And I think there's more money being involved with it. So I'm curious to see where it goes. The days of Showtime Box are gone and HBO Boxing are over. So as we see these fights being on these streaming platforms and on YouTube and on HBO and Netflix and all this, I think that there is hope for the future. I just want to see more fighters that are dedicated to being the best fighter ever and leaving a legacy and getting championships after championships.
Do you think, and it's kind of transitioning it back in as well, because you said you score fights yourself as you're watching. Do you think adding in, say, technology that you guys have within the gloves, for punch count, obviously landing is more of a visual thing, whether if it's body, but to the, maybe you can have a sensor within the, with that sensor for pressure, for, pounds per pressure that you have on the punch, so you can see what the impact is. Do you think the technology needs to increase within the game, because you see other leagues taking off in a different aspect and embracing in-game technology? Do you think that boxing is a little bit archaic in that aspect, or is that the charm that allows boxing to be boxing?
Great question. And as someone that appreciates what Amazon is kind of doing with watching like NFL, games, seeing people's speed, it's incredible what technology is doing. Now, I will say there was, at some point during the Olympics, they used technology to be able to score punches. But, they don't do that anymore. With pro boxing, I honestly can't say if you were able to score punches, it would still matter. Because there are fights where someone scores more punches, punches landed than the other opponent, and they'll end up still losing, because at the end of the day, if you get through all 12 rounds, 3 judges are going to make an assessment based on what they view as winning that round. So, scoring in boxing fights, people say it's rigged, it's this, that, and the other. It's a weird system because it truly is somewhat subjective, whether one person views this person winning and another person doesn't. But technology, I've seen them use the AI scorecard a couple times on the DAZN fights, and they don't seem to be as accurate as a lot of the people scoring it. So I don't know where they go from there, man, but maybe adding another judge, I don't know, maybe having replays might help. There's a lot of ways that they could improve the sport professionally, but yeah, that's a good one, man. You got me at a loss there.
We just got to enjoy it for what we have right now and just take it at face value. I see that. No.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Coach PJ, we cannot appreciate you enough for coming on to the Seed Talk podcast today. Can you let everybody know where to find you again from a social perspective?
You can always find me on social media at Train with PJ. You can also, reach out to me at my website, bdecoaching.com, where I do life optimization coaching. If you need help, you got a problem, I would love to support you, be in your corner, and help you get the best results ever.
That's awesome.
And if you're looking to join after hearing that conversation, join FightCamp.com if you want to get more information to order the product and bring it into your own home. So if you're trying to start your workout journey, if you're already on your workout journey and looking for something a little different, join FightCamp.com to get more information on the system that can definitely enhance your everyday life.
Yeah. And you can find us at SteveMac, at TaylorMac29, and at the Seed Talk podcast. Continue to rate, click, subscribe, and we'll see you in the next edition of the Seed Talk podcast.